Let the dragon consume you! Enemy sighted. Stop the payload! Stop the payload! In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Birdwatcher's back at it one more time. Here's your host, Ryan and Clay. They're about to bring you some sweet, sweet Overwatch action.
All right, Stage 2 playoffs are upon us. And man, I am glad to see this Philadelphia roster in the top 3.
Yeah, who would have known? Who would have known with all the battling that went on towards the end of the stage that Philadelphia would have been the one to push through, and rightfully so.
Yeah, dude, a grab bag of just different countries, ethnicities, but they're battling for the American spot, I feel like, you know?
Yeah.
This is Rocky Balboa fighting against, I don't know, that big Russian guy.
Drago?
Yeah, Drago and his wife.
Man.
Yeah.
And his wife.
he wants to beat them both. But yeah. Glad to see
Drago, the new movie is supposed to have Drago's son in it.
What? Dude, they just
Creed
did Creed, son.
Yeah, who would have thought? It's almost like it writes itself.
Dude, if, what's her name? Bridget? I can't remember her last name, but if she is in the movie, he can't win. Creed can't win. Yeah, Michael K. Williams, dude. How can you beat the mom again? It's impossible.
Yeah. I don't know, man. We'll see. He's going to win, though.
Yeah, that's how they write every one of those damn movies.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
That's
but
right.
You know what? This one is definitely about the journey of how Philadelphia got in this position. So we're going to start off by establishing that we still have a normal week of games, and how playoffs work is still kind of interesting to me, considering you have the full week, your full final week, and then you go straight into playoffs on Sunday.
Yeah.
Feels a little wonky to me, but I get it, I guess.
It's a lot of games.
It's a lot of Overwatch. But Philadelphia start off the week, and we mentioned in our last podcast, they play Valiant and Gladiators. So they're already starting off with a pretty solid week as far as competition. And then, we get the top 3 being NYXL, and London Spitfire, and then Fusion. And the first game is London Spitfire against Fusion. So that's already a toll there. I think everybody was in favor of Spitfire because they won the last one, right?
Yeah, so they went into this a 70%, community prediction. There's a little website that you can kind of vote on what team you want to see or you think is going to win. Could have made a ton of money off this one.
Yeah, you could have.
Where are the books at for Overwatch League? I need to get in on this.
I'm almost tempted to message FanDuel and DraftKings and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, get this up and running.
Yeah, I want to make some money.
DraftKings did have a lot of league stuff. The Legends.
Yeah.
For a while, and I don't know what kind of happened there. FanDuel not so much in the esports, but they should they need to get on that train. I mean, if you're going to do UFC, you can do esports, so I can make some money.
Yeah, put a little money on the Shanghai Dragons every time, and just
every time,
and just pray. Yeah,
bet it all on black.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll go into. You want to go into our first match?
Yeah, I'll start us off here with our first. Yeah, we only have 2 matches today, so no honorable mentions. We're just going to get into it. We have extended notes here, so we're going to go deep. London Spitfire come out and look like hot dung, or not Spitfire, Fusion. Yeah. Oh man, that first map.
Yeah, start a little slow.
Yeah, a little bit on Gibraltar. And it's interesting because, combined, they talk about Carpe and EQO just being one of the top performers in the league damage-wise on Gibraltar. And this is one of Fusion's worst maps, but it's one of those situations, this stage, like NYXL, where the worst map isn't really bad. It's just that comparative to like how they do on like Kings Row, they don't do that well here.
Right. Just shaking off the nerves on this one, it looked like.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. And, they were unable to cap point 1. And Gibraltar's one of those maps, kind of like we talked about Route 66, where if you don't cap point 1, the way those maps are designed, you're pretty much set up to lose.
The run back is very far.
Yeah, it's very, very far. So London Spitfire pretty much gets some early picks. Once they hold Fusion, they get some early picks on their attack, and it's just a short cap. They ride it through, and when on that first respawn, they just kind of pick people coming through the door, and that's kind of one of the reasons they're undefeated on this map. I mean, there's no fanfare here. There's plenty of fanfare in the rest, so don't worry. But it does start off with Gibraltar going to Spitfire, which is kind of one of those. It's one of those situations like when you see a team come out and just roll NYXL in like the first map, and then you think, oh, okay, what's gonna happen? And then they adjust. Fusion really channeling their inner XL right here, because we're going to the next map, which is Nepal. And this is where they get their footing. This is where you essentially have EQO and Carpe both get in the motions immediately, and then Poco's not too far behind. But Nepal, so we give you those facts where we're like, okay, whatever they tell you on this map is the opposite's going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we have them being 1-5 on Nepal, which is like, okay, well, they just came off a map that they're not good at. They lost, so naturally it will repeat itself, right? Not so much. Round 1, they cap it 100% to 0.
Yeah, really taking the London kind of by surprise, because obviously this map isn't as good for just like the strictly dive comps, and that's kind of what Fusion has modeled their team base on, is this scrappy Philadelphia style dive comp, and Nepal is just kind of difficult to kind of huddle up on a point. It's hard to dive from there, but yeah, they take it 100-0.
Yeah, in that first round. And, I'm happy you mentioned that Philadelphia style. And it's kind of like, street fighting type situation. It's fitting for the city.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
One thing we've noticed, and everybody's noticed this kind of over the course of this stage, is that when Philadelphia is able to force you to battle, like in the streets, no picks, no nonsense, like get your kills, earn your kills, they usually come out on top.
Absolutely, yeah.
You have these, like London Spitfire and then NYXL as well, in certain teams. And Gladiators also do this, where if you can't get a pick on them, they make your life a living hell trying to get the kills you need to get. And, if you don't come out on the other side, like we go back to Gladiators talking about how, there are fights where they do get picked and Fissure is still able to turn that fight back into a brawl, and they end up coming out on the better side. Getting back into this one, this definitely shows here where Carpe refuses to die, right? Like he can't. It's one of those cases where he's constantly in situations where he should be dead, and they can't finish him off, and then he gets a pick here, or he 1 for 1, or he gets a 2K before he dies, and then puts Philadelphia in a good position, and then Fraggy and Poco, man, they've gotten. We talked about Fraggy's Winston, how it's gotten better. Poco has always been kind of that divey diva in general, and the way they clean up kills is just very impressive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Not only just cleaning up kills. Before, when we used to, in stage 1, we saw Philly. When they would dive, they would go in on the dive and leave their supports kind of in the dust, and people would take advantage of that kind of thing. Now you see Poco jump back, help his supports, help Boombox in the back, and that used to be where teams would get kills really early on, but these guys are staying alive, and the supports are helping each other, and it looks like a well-coordinated team now for sure.
Yeah, and here they do their own thing, and they force people to adjust to them. Which is one of those concepts we mentioned where, if you're on the other end of that, if a team forces you to adjust to them and you're not able to either meet that standard, it puts you on the back foot. But here they do the triple tank comp, which they're well known for doing, and doing well, because you do have EQO, who has proven that he can off tank really well. On both Diva and Roadhog. And then you have Poco, who him, his name, and then you have Fraggy. They probably have, if I had to say, what's the best triple tank roster setup, I wouldn't hesitate to say they're probably up there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, especially because Poco is so good at Zarya. You see teams like, and I hate to call them out, but the Houston Outlaws try this triple.
How dare you?
I know, right?
How dare you?
We're
already taking up with a beating.
Yeah, right. But they try this triple tank strategy a lot of time. They put Linkser on the Zarya, and Linkser is getting his Zarya ult after the match is already over. He's clicking over 100%. He's like, guys, I'm ready. And they're like, dude, we already lost it.
Linkser looks weird on a tank. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like seeing Soon on Widowmaker.
Yeah.
But I'm getting used to it. So,
but yeah, anytime we get to see Fraggy on Ryan, man, I'm always excited because later on in the series, well, in the next series, he no spoilers, but he gets a shatter within like 10 seconds, man. It's insane.
Something
and
nuts.
he does this almost every time he gets on Reinhardt too, man. He's in there swinging, and Poco's backing him up on the Diva, using the Matrix to really let him go wild. He doesn't even have a shield, man. He's just swinging.
Yeah. And it looks reckless, but it's super calculated because he knows when he's getting focus healed. Like when both healers are on him and then Poco has his Matrix, that's when he makes those moves. So it's kind of smart. There's a point where, oh, you know what? No spoilers. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Fusion take Nepal. So now it's 1-1. So now we have a match, right? We have a game, and it's a completely different look from what we got the first map.
And you can tell the commentators they get even more excited because they saw this first map and it was like, man, dude, I don't know if Philly's going to be able to go, round for round with these guys. And man, they show they can. Yeah.
So then we move into Hanamura, and this is where it's like, okay, Fusion, like, okay, calm down. Fusion coming to Hanamura, and this is, I think they've lost once on this map, but London Spitfire have not lost on this map in this stage. So they're still and we said 70% in their favor. They're still favored for most of the maps we've been on at this point.
Yeah.
But, we have Boombox stepping into play. He's like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm still one of the best Zenyatas at the moment.
Yeah, finding heads, man.
Finding heads.
Yeah, no joke.
There's an instant kill he has on Prophet's Genji during a Dragon Blade on .1 attack, which is just sickening. He's like behind Bell. Essentially, Prophet is almost doing a fake out type situation where he's faking like he's going to the lower ground to help fight in the main fight, and then he pops Dragon Blade, dashes back into point where Boombox is waiting, and then boom volley, and he's done.
Yeah, just knocks him out.
Yeah, and anytime you see a support take out a ulting Genji, it's probably going to go in the favor of the supports team. But very impressive, and this means so now you have, as far as people that are warmed up, and this whole match is just Fusion. Essentially, everybody's reaching their peak and staying there, and they're getting there together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because we talked about, Carpe warming up before. We talked about EQO kind of reaching his point. Poco is doing his thing. Fraggy's now warmed up. And now you have Boombox, who's now just landing headshots. So now it's 5 or 6 players, all right? It's 5 or 6 players at a point when you need them. So no, there's another point where on point 2 on attack, right? So after they cap it, after the Genji Dragon Blade nullification, they go to point 2, and Prophet has it was a very weird nano blade. Do you remember this?
Yeah, so he swipes through a couple people, a couple of the supports. It was pretty high impact, but it didn't seem like it was like game ending. But this is at like minute 3 or 4, it seemed like, right? So he was they're just throwing the nano out there. Is this the first nano?
Yeah, it's the first nano.
Yeah, kind of on that upper tier thing. It looked like that's what Philly kept trying to do. They wanted to go top, and London saw this coming, and they were able to get up the nano real quick in there.
Yeah, it was, and even the timing was weird because the time bank wasn't at a critical point where you need to make a move like that. And the commentators mentioned that it felt kind of wasted, and then it put him in a bad position, alt economy wise.
Yeah. Oh, going into the next fight for sure.
Yeah, and that's when they pushed through to cap it. So, when we talk about Boombox again, and no big plays here, but it got to the point where Boombox was dealing with flankers on his own, which left Poco and Fraggy to kind of do their own thing as far as finishing kills. And we'll get into later how Poco and Carpe together and then later Snillo, just when they like finishing kills. If you look at the right feed, which is what you should be looking at to kind of gauge how it's going, people just die in succession. Like nobody's getting away with 5 health. Nobody's getting away with 10 health or 2 bars or whatever you want to call it. They're really wrapping it up. So they take it on attack. Okay, cool. Let's go on defense. What's going to happen?
There was one interesting thing that I saw on the Fusion offense is they had lost the fight. EQO was still there. Actually, Gesture has to pop a primal at some point. EQO realizes fight's over, but he can get a full attack visor off just the ulting monkey. He can kill some of the supports. He has pretty much free reign to kill anybody, but he uses his entire clip trying to just pump as much into to Gesture's Winston just to come back with attack visor. He gets his ult very quickly off this guy, and that pretty cool. Getting to see these guys using a little bit of the strats to just you lost the fight, but we're going to come back with ults because you kind of fed us one. Yeah,
it's very impressive, and we talk about just technical play. So the last person on the team to kind of show out, we've talked about 5 already who are just now heated, right? You remember NBA Jam, right?
Oh,
like he's firing up.
Yeah, that was for me.
So, so you have 5 people on fire, and then on defense, Neptuno has this sick play, right? So Neptuno's Ana has been growing on me because he's such a quiet guy. Like even on camera, just when you see him, he's just kind of like doesn't really have that standout personality. Yep. But he has a play on defense where essentially time's low. They're on pretty much their last attempt. And what's crazy is that Fusion put themselves in a position to have one more defense, right? They run up, and then Neptuno has this well-timed bio grenade in the middle of the fight, follows it up by ulting Fraggy, and then sleeping Gesture to the left of him. And just completely flips the fight.
Yeah, and this within a couple of seconds of each other, which is insane.
Oh, yeah. If you see the shot, it looks like he does everything at once.
Yeah. And this is kind of crazy because the fact that they're coming back, Fusion's coming back from their spawn on point 2. Yeah. This is traditionally something, and especially on ladder, you see, oh, wow, they took the point. They've already got 2 ticks.
Let's
There's
set up,
no
reset.
reason. Yeah. No reason to go back in. But it surprises them. They come back in some quick time stuff like this. This was especially the standout point is when he gets the bio grenade, because it is very, very devastating when he hits multiple people and they can't be healed up. And then you have your tank Gesture gets slept, and Gesture, if you notice, gets picked almost immediately by Carpe. Just immediately gets picked by Carpe. It was pretty sick. Pretty sick hold, man.
What is this? This is map 3?
Yeah, this is map 3.
Yeah, so Fusion take it, and now they're all on fire, and I'm hype, the crowd's hype, commentators are hype, because no one we expected a fight, but like if you remember when my squad was playing Spitfire in the previous playoff situation, it was definitely a case where they burned out real quick, right? Around map 2 was when it started to die down and Spitfire just took over. And for how this match started, this is not the direction I thought it was going to go. But we keep it going. We keep it going to their best map, which, like we said, don't trust the stats.
Yeah, because I think, and they go on later to say this, that they feel confident if they can make it to Kings Row with a decent record, that they're going to win the series. And because, in the past, we've seen Fusion really dominate on Kings Row. They like the big tank comp with Reinhardt and Zarya and stuff like that. And
if a map was their home field, this would be their home field.
Yeah, absolutely. And not saying that Fusion didn't do well on this map, but
this is a battle.
Yeah, this was a good map. Yeah,
it was a weird one. I would say that they did great on attack. The defense was a technical issue for setup, and it was just like it was very misguided or miscommunicated. We'll get to that, but on attack, so they go attack first, right? And it's pretty impressive. We get to see attack Carpe.
Yeah, on the Hanzo.
I don't know how often. I think we've seen his Hanzo a lot more this stage than before.
Yeah.
And the guy's just good. He's like, I'm starting to think of him now just as top DPS. Like,
when he comes around and scatters the Widow up top, and then
he
gets some backup from Poco to kill not Jonak. I'm sorry. Who is the Zenyatta for London? Bedosin, I'm sorry.
Yes, Bedosin.
Yeah, he goes up there, scatters him, and then Poco jumps up there and helps him kill Bedosin.
Yeah.
And it was a sick play, just a quick 2-for-1.
Yeah, and even and there's a point where he plays. You mentioned here he played Genji. He was able to get or not. Wait,
no, it's Genji. Yeah, they call it. Yeah, so it's Dragon Strike and Dragon Blade, which is you never really hear what Hanzo's ult is called because they just call it the Dragon, I guess.
Yeah,
but yeah, it gets it like three times in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, because they are still using the triple tank comp, and I think there's a correlation here. I'm not a huge fan of Space Dragon. I get it. It's a pure, the only pure combo still left in the game, meaning that you can, zero people out. There's no other abilities in the game that can really work out in favor of them when they get caught. But it's too dependent on getting enough people in the grab.
Yeah.
And then also getting that, getting that coordination down. Even though you're a pro team, I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to notice, and I don't know, if the stats back this up, but whenever there's a triple comp or triple tank comp on both sides, the one that goes for the Space Dragon variant usually loses.
Yeah, well, it was awesome to see that they were going to try this, and like you said, it is one of those only combos. But they never even try to pair it up together. At one point, it looked like they tried to, but Carpe is smart with these dragons. He looks like he's just trying to separate the team, and you don't go in. I think maybe at some ranks you can get these big kills, but. It really does separate the two. It separates the tanks and the healers from each other, and he's not looking for kills. He's looking to distract the enemy team, and it does a really good job doing it, especially on the offense.
Yeah, but sorry, excuse me. I'm drinking beer at the moment, so that's my excuse. But it's one of those cases. So their push is pretty solid. You have Frag, performing out of his mind. Carpe is killing it on Hanzo. They do well here. And then halfway through, he switches to Widow and somehow does even better.
Yeah.
Which is, I just wish I was this good at anything, really, in life.
Yeah. Just to be as good as him on Widow. Yeah, no joke.
Yeah. So they move through, they cap it, and the defense is where it looks super weird. And this is just a case of Spitfire kind of stepping their game up. To the level we know them for, because they're able to get through point 2 in 6 minutes with 6 minutes in their bank.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Part of that issue was that Carpe, I don't know if he was feeling himself in the map before, but remember, we're still dealing with triple tank variant throughout this whole map on both sides, and he decides to sit on Widow on the defense end.
Just
what do you think
not
about
really
that?
able to put anything together. At one point, he's behind them, gets a pick or two, and just not. I mean, when you had, you're having to get through all these high HP targets. It's so difficult to make high impact. I mean, you have to hit the Zenyatta, you have to hit the Mercy if they're playing a Mercy. But like if they have these big bulky tanks in front of you, man, it's really hard to be high impact on Widow. And yeah, it just sticks on it for a little bit too long. Like to see switch over to the Tracer a little bit earlier on, right?
Yeah, and then we get the second round. So we get the second round after they cap it, and it's one of the cases where London Spitfire is just not having it. They go for, I think, Space Dragon again, but Poco gets his grab eaten. That was pretty impressive because the way Fury timed it, like Fury wasn't even looking in his direction.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on this one.
You think it was luck?
No, I thought he positioned himself really well, but I went back and watched this video 3 or 4 times. So Fury's sitting in the back of the point, very corner of the point, kind of near that telephone booth.
Yeah.
And Poco puts the grab at the very front. How does a defensive matrix get it this far away? And actually, later on in the series, we see another matrix steal one of Snilo's pulse bombs, and they're not even close.
Yeah.
It just seems very...
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Follow the money, man. Follow the money.
I watched this thing 3 or 4 times. I'm like, dude, there's no way. I mean, I understand that the Matrix is coned in front, but man, it looked like it took up the whole point. But once that happened, it looked like it was kind of over for the Fusion.
Yeah, because right after that, they have their next attempt, which is pretty much their final attempt, and Prophet has a sick 4K tire.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
Which pretty much wraps it up. But one thing that we reiterate and will constantly be true is that Fraggy is the best the best Reinhardt in the league at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because here we see him just like there's a lot of duel situations where it's not like directly one-on-one, but just as far as commanding how the fight's gonna go, Gesture just can't keep up with what Fraggy's trying to do. Fraggy's kind of making the decision of, okay, I'm gonna bait your shatter out. You're gonna shatter here. I'm gonna block this. I'm gonna charge this person, and then my team's gonna follow up. Where Gesture's more reactive in the Reinhardt play.
Yeah. There's a lot of confidence there too in the Fraggy Reinhardt.
Oh yeah,
it's cool to watch.
He's like a different player when he's on Reinhardt.
Yeah, yeah.
He's definitely come more comfortable. I mean, his Winston has come miles.
Yeah, it has.
But he's definitely more confident on the Reinhardt. And when he gets to play it, I think everybody's happy. Everybody who's involved, like watching it and so on and so forth. But we go into map 5 then, right? All right.
66.
Everybody's sweating because what's going on, right? This is crazy. This is not the same fusion from stage 1. Nowhere close. And we get the sub of Snilio. So you're like, okay, you know,
baby face assassin.
The baby face monster man. Dude has to be like 6'1".
Yeah.
He's pretty tall.
He looks like a child.
Yeah, he looks like a giant child.
Yeah.
But no, the guy's always happy to be there. He's always high energy.
Oh, and he's smiling the whole time.
Yeah, he's definitely hype. I mean, you know, I would be too if I was like, oh yeah, finally 8-10 get to play. I'm gonna show these boys what's up, because all these think about that pressure. We talk about Sinatra this week starting, but you're coming into a league where you've been here, but you're making your debut after seeing a track record of SBB and these guys Asher who's just been killing it on Tracer. And you got to find your place, right? You're not even on the main squad, really. You're kind of the 6-man or the 7-man off the bench. And he shows up, man. Him and Carpe together are just, it's dangerous.
But, it's especially hard when you know you have a Tracer like Carpe on your team and you're having to fill a role that he is excellent at, right?
Yeah.
So, man, he really does show out here.
Yeah, so we get Snilio coming in, and this is another map, Route 66, where, you know, once again, Fusion don't have a bad record here. They're 4-1, but Spitfire are undefeated.
Yep.
As we told you guys, hope you've been listening, don't trust the stats.
Yeah. This is why I would have made so much money off this game.
I know. But yeah, Carpe and Snilio are a problem.
Yeah, so much of a problem that Birdring is actually forced to switch to a McCree, and we've talked about that in this past, man. If you start trying to play a more reactive game, especially against Philly, who's scrapping and diving on you the whole time, man, you're going to lose. So
yeah, so that's pretty much what it breaks down to. Nothing crazy really happens here. There is one play where on defense on point 1, they don't really check Carpe. They kill everybody else. Carpe flies back to the canyon where you have your second spawn lined up, and they go to res. I think it's Nuss goes to res one of the players, and he headshots him during the res. Right.
So I think it was Birdring on Widow goes to he had lost the duel with Birdring. Or Carpe had won the duel with Birdring.
Yep.
And then Nuss just kind of, it really poor positioning, and they call him out on it.
Yeah, no protection.
And he punishes him there.
Yeah, no bubble, no Winston bubble or anything like that. And if you think about it, in that situation, essentially a 3K, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't get the res off, and then that walk back is nothing short. So yeah, he's able to stall him out a good bit on point 1, and that causes a problem for the remainder. Because Snilio comes back
for sure.
Yeah, Snilio comes back, and I think he averages on this map. I don't know if you have stats here for that one.
He goes 21-5.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a lot of kills.
That is nuts. One map?
Yeah, one map, 21-5.
Oh my
This is why they feel like they were forced to switch to McCree, man, and it just doesn't work. And we'll get into it later, but there is a fix for this, and we'll talk about that when we get to the next stage.
Yeah, but you have Snilio performing like that when he comes in. Like, that's crazy. This is off the bench, guys. we talk about off the bench performance all the time, and this is ridiculous.
Eager in the back. He's just ready to play.
He's hype. Yeah. He's hype. He has Tracer in his heart. Yeah. And then, Carpe, we have here that, he had 40% of the team of limbs. And so you have those two together. They're not able to, Snilio getting back-to-back 2Ks and just one-clipping people like it's just simple. Like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
And, you know, one thing I point out about Carpe is that, you know, I'm hyped right now just talking about it and remembering it. And one thing I noticed about Carpe compared to other snipers is he's real good at checking his blind spot. He doesn't get caught off guard really much. Even when he has his mind or when he doesn't, he's always checking that blind spot to see what's going on. But yeah, Spitfire just can't. They get 1 and 2, but they force them, ever since that res situation, forced them into overtime on that first point, and that followed them in the second point, and third point is damn near impossible if you're going into it with only, I think they only give you like a minute 30. Because it's a shorter distance.
Yeah, that was definitely a fight that London was poised to win too. It looked like they were able, you know, to get the front line all picked off. They took the Philadelphia Fusion tanks out really quick, but then they left Carpe in the back there, who gets a quick 2K, and Stelio was able to back him up there real quick. And man, if they can come back and steal that much time off the clock, dude, it feels bad, man. It feels bad. Yeah,
so, you know, there you have it, guys. It was quite an upset, wasn't it? I mean, we have a 3-2 finish in Fusion's favor.
Balboa, round 1.
Man, and this is one of those cases, remember, starting off where they talked about, they're like, all season, or not all season, this stage at least, they have not taken a game off of Spitfire until this point.
Yeah.
So literally, that second map was their first map that they won against Spitfire.
Insane.
And they just took it all away. Yeah, I don't think London was ready for this.
No, and they had a pretty light schedule the whole week too. That's what's kind of crazy. They were, just it didn't seem like they were prepared, or they thought that. I like confidence going into this thing, but they maybe too confident going into there.
Yeah, I mean, they won last time, right? It's one of those cases where, you know, it's like we did this before. We can do it again, and I don't think that's the case. The league has elevated too much. Huh?
Who did they beat last time?
I don't remember. I don't think it's logged anywhere.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those records got lost.
No video of Jake crying on stage.
I refuse to take this abuse.
That really hurt them. I mean, like emotionally, I feel like going in that first couple weeks of stage 2.
Yeah, it affected us really. I mean, it's
as a state.
It's as a state. The whole state of Texas crumbling.
Dallas Fuel. It really brushed off on them too, man.
I mean, some could say that was the catalyst for the end for Dallas Fuel's. Dallas Fuel's messing up from day 1.
Yeah. Now this, I wanted to ask you a quick question.
Cool.
Seeing that we have a little bit of time this week, Philadelphia has kind of an interesting living situation where they all live in one location. They all have this giant mansion in Los Angeles, and all these other teams, they have 2 or 3 players living in different apartments. You going into this, what do you think? You think you want to be in a team, scenario, all in one house, or do you like to separate, kind of have a little bit more privacy, kind of thing?
So this is kind of my view at a high level. Is that the Overwatch season is only pretty much for the first half of the year, right? Like everything pre-summer.
Yep.
And because of the way the league's designed, because of the situation, I think it makes sense to be in one house from a focus standpoint, where a lot of people have talked about, and this is, it's a good question because it's on the forums a lot, where they're like, living situation is more like a frat house type situation.
Yeah.
And some people think that's not a good idea because, socializing and it doesn't make sense. People need their own space. And I'm like, not really, because they're technically only working for the summer or for like a couple seasons.
Yeah.
The season's not that long. It's almost over. We're halfway. So I think for that time frame, your work is front loaded. It's like football, right? Like football, you only have those 16 games.
Yeah, and you're living with these dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have that postseason, and then football's pretty much over until football season starts again. And you have off-season stuff where you go home and do all that. But yeah, it's not that far from other sports, so I think it should be treated where your focus for these couple months should be focused on the game. You should still have your, health, like working out, eating right, free time, sleeping correctly, things like that nature, socializing, going out. But definitely the league should be in your mind and should be in the forefront. And I think the single house aspect allows that to be the focus.
Yeah, it definitely seems like these guys have a good camaraderie. They have some actual real friendships going on, too. I mean, we only get so much from videos, but it looks like these guys definitely enjoy their time together, and they enjoy their time playing with each other on stage. And especially with a new team. Like, all these guys are relatively new to playing with each other, with the exception of some of the Korean teams, and then Dallas had a big bulk of their team going for it. But,
I don't think any of the Fusion played together.
No, we'll have to figure that out. But this was good just to get guys together that maybe didn't know each other and really build like a family team environment. Yeah,
definitely. One thing to mention, you can kind of see that, and early on, that Carpe is one of those players that even when he does well, gets down on himself.
Yeah,
and I've seen like Fraggy really being kind of the like, hey, we won, we did a good job kind of thing, and kind of getting him into the celebrations, because he's definitely one of those players where you'll see like, oh, he fragged out, but if he didn't do as well as he thought he should have, he's not going to be super happy about it. But they definitely give him that reinforcement of
that's a cultural thing, man. That is something that we don't understand quite as well, just because when we do slightly well, we're all the beers are getting cracked and but
an excuse for a celebration, man.
Yeah,
make a holiday out of it.
But yeah, like you said, it is cool that Fraggy's there, kind of pumping him up. But yeah,
all right, we're gonna move into this next match,
getting in the finals. Philly taking on New York, man. This is pretty a big one. We kind of saw. I thought London was going to be battling back against New York for the
rematch.
Second time in a row. Yeah. I know they wanted it for sure.
And it's the rematch would have been cool.
Yeah,
this is a better outcome.
Yeah,
this is cool. We're showing that. I say we're. You see, that's how involved we are. The league is showing that there's progression. People are growing. Teams are growing. You never really know what you're going to get at the end.
Yeah.
Besides NYXL, because they're still the best team. But that's all irrelevant. Philadelphia Fusion are here to challenge the throne.
Yeah, baby.
Take us into it, man.
Yeah, so we start on Route 66, and Fusion's still on a tear from their last series. It looked like they were still warm, still ready to go. And like we got commented here, we would expect to see Pine coming out from New York because this is a pretty heavy Widow map. But instead we get SBB on the Widow, and we get Carpe on the Widow, and they bring in Sneelio, the babyface assassin.
Actually, to mention, we find out later that Pine's not actually on the roster.
Yeah.
He comes out and talks about some personal stuff with depression, anxiety, and the team's kind of supporting him and dealing with that.
Yeah.
So shout outs to him, man, because he's a good guy. But the pressure got to him. He is one of those cases. I will say that right now for Fusion, Sneelio's kind of their Pine. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, he is actually a very entertaining streamer too. If you get a chance, man, Pine is.
Oh, really?
Very funny. Very funny.
I've only seen clips of him farming people on ladder.
Yeah, well, he does that very well too. So
it's crazy.
So we see, like I said, we see SBB on the Widow trying to compete with Carpe, and don't get me wrong, SBB good Widow, not a Carpe Widow, and it really does show because Carpe is able to take out SBB multiple times. While Sneelio's in the back. Trying to be sneaky as possible, because it's weird because they cut to this guy a lot and you're like, oh, maybe he's gonna frag out, and he does get kills, but he's just creeping around corners, man. Being more annoying than anything. And they comment that this really does allow Carpe to kind of have free reign to get these headshots, because this guy, they're like, man, where's this guy at, and they're focusing on that, which is pretty sweet. And interesting stat line just for this map, Sneelio gets 18 kills, 6 deaths, SBB 8 kills, 12 deaths. So obviously ready to play, man.
Sneelio he's almost destroying our whole concept of coming off the bench. And even, the commentators talk about it more as far as pulling people off and then putting him back on, and what kind of state that puts them in.
Yeah.
I guess because, he just turned 18, he has that blood running through him, and he's just always ready to go, because he comes in and he does these stats are ridiculous for someone coming off of, coming out the back.
Yeah. That little kid energy, man.
Yeah, and I mentioned, earlier, like when we first started seeing Sneelio when he first turned 18 and started playing, he was more frantic, but now he is kind of establishing this sneaky aspect, which I've made clear.
Very patient.
I've made clear that Tavik can't do very well.
No.
But yeah, it's very interesting to watch him sneak around the map and just
Yeah, it's so cool to see. And get some pulse bombs every once in a while too, unless they get eaten, which is like I had mentioned earlier. He throws a pulse bomb out at Jonak and it gets eaten, and I don't even think anybody's on D.Va. But, but you turn around, there's no one to be seen. But it just gets eaten out of nowhere. Fucking conspiracy is what it is.
Conspiracy theory.
Get this character out of the game. It's annoying.
Yeah.
She's overpowered. But so pretty dominant Route 66 Fusion coming out on fire.
And it was cool because we get to see, never forget NYXL is that defensive expert.
Yep.
So we get to see him do anti-dive comp, which I haven't seen, I don't think, in a couple
and that
weeks.
actually did work really well. Really well, especially with the Junkrat and the McCree. Snealia was able to just get cut off at that point.
Yeah, and I think here, my opinion, because the actual comp, down to the letter, was Orisa, D.Va, Widow, Junk, Mercy, Zen. And I think I'm more of a fan of, instead of that Widow doing the McCree.
No, it was SBB on McCree, I think.
That was the second half.
Oh, was that the second half?
Yeah, he ended up switching to McCree, and then they did a lot better holding that third point.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why I think at the beginning they probably should have stuck with that. Just because you have that stun, and if they're going a dive comp, because we've been talking about Fusion's dive comp getting better, and they did use it in the previous match. I think that the Widow play is a little rough, especially with Carpe playing the way he is, and then in that dueling situation, you don't want to do that.
Right.
But hindsight is 2020, right?
Yeah. So that leads us into Li Zhang.
Yeah.
Map 1, man. And NYXL looking pretty, looks like they came out to play because they played this really heavy tank comp, and it looks like Fusion just not sure what to do against it. And they kind of sit on the point. I think the Fusion get it back for a little bit, but NYXL just kind of, clogging the point up, have this high HP targets, and they never switch over to something like the Pharah. Because I don't think they have a traditional Pharah player in their main roster besides Shadowburn. So when you have Li Zhang, and you kind of want to see Pharah against these heavy tank comps, they didn't really have anything for it. Yeah,
Ikio's, we've seen him on Pharah a bit. It doesn't really work out, and you can't really sacrifice Carpe to do it, and Snillo is, out at this point. And he's just a main Tracer player. So they don't really have,
I was going to say, it kind of makes me wonder, does he have an alternate, character he goes back to? But it looks like Tracer just for now.
Yeah, I would like to see what the rest of his pool looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as play, because he's too solid of a player to not only play Tracer. I don't think that's a real thing. Yeah. But, one thing that stood out about this map was the adjustment. So we talk about adjusting because New York does start off ahead on this map as far as capping points, but then we had this weird situation where they were doing Philadelphia Fusion was doing triple tank, and EQO was on D.Va instead of Roadhog, and people were like, okay, well, why not go the Roadhog, have Poco do his thing on Zarya, and then have Fraggy frag out. And it took them a while to get to that point, about like 40%, like 42%. And once they made that switch, that's when you're like, okay, here we go. And they just steamroll it from that point forward. And like you said, Poco had a sick grab.
Yeah, especially on map 2, Fraggy. I think the Overwatch gods were like, "Hey, man, you don't even need to build this one up.
We're gonna give you one free. It's like a loot box."
Oh, it's insane, dude. He gets it within seconds of. It's that inside map. They're up top. He's just swinging. He's getting a lot of backup from.
It's under 20 seconds, I believe.
Oh, easily.
Something nuts
it's insane.
Like that.
They do get the point back at some point, and YXO does get the point back, and Libero, kind of takes advantage of just these big tanks and hits them with the 3K on the Junkrat at one point. But, dude, Poco at the very end kind of saves it, secures the point with a huge grab.
Yeah, and it's one of those cases, the scary part about this map is that this is where, like, even though they're commanding the lead here, and they already have that win under their belt, we're starting to see Libero warm up and kind of get in the flow. Because remember, it's the same situation that happened against London Spitfire in playoffs 1, the first stage playoffs, where New York was never really getting into that warm up state because they didn't have to play a game before that. And then in that week leading up, their schedule was also light, so they were kind of like this was their first heavy match. Which resulted in their loss. And here again, you have the Fusion kind of posing that same threat, which, I'll just ask you now, Clay, like, do Do you think there's a benefit on being, if you have the stamina, is there a benefit on being the reverse sweeper in that position? That third spot? That third or second spot where you have to play the 2 games rather than playing 1 game just because of the momentum?
Yeah. Wait, phrase the question again?
Yeah, sorry, that was kind of bad. Is it a benefit to be involved? Do you want to be in the second or third position so you can play that first map, and then if you can win that map, take that momentum into the last map or the last match?
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't know. I kind of like I said, we say all the time, hindsight is 20/20. I like being where NYXL is, getting to play the second match, just because, man, once you play this much Overwatch, you really start to get tired. Just looking at the screen for this long, and obviously these guys scrim all day, but this is at such a high level that you have to be focused 100%. Like, there's no slacking off, and it looks like the Fusion just mentally exhausted after just the second map. Li Shang, they just like after this, they're just like, man, dude, you can look at Fraggy's face, and
look at the cameras.
Looks tired. So I don't know. It looked like they were doing really well, and they were doing really well going into the second match of the day. But, man, they looked mentally exhausted.
And you know what? I'm happy you brought that up because I like the fact that in this league we get those camera, like the faces on the camera.
I wish they did that more often, actually.
Yeah, well, so the way the stadium, I had a buddy who went to the game recently, and the stadium set up where the screens under them are constantly showing their faces.
Yeah.
So if you're there, you get to see their reactions throughout you get to see them communicating. You get to see that the whole time, just because of the way that venue is set up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see that even EQO just looks exhausted. Yeah. And he's been switching with Snilio. So it's one of those cases where, you mentioned they probably should have left Snilio in since he was so fresh. Yep. But, we mentioned, guys, that think about this 1 week where starting on Wednesday through Sunday, they had to play Valiant, they had to play Los Angeles Gladiators, they had to play Spitfire, and they had to play NYXL in 1 week.
Yeah, and how do you prepare yourself for that?
That's a lot.
Four different strategies coming into it. And, dude, they played some hell of a games, man.
Yeah, if you've going to other sports, if you ever watched a doubleheader.
Oh, right? It's tough.
And
man.
Both of those teams are like high-ranking teams. You just look at the team who has to go through that. It's a lot.
Yep. Just a quick note going into map 3 on Li Shang. Libero, kind of the first one that wakes up. He has 16 final blows, where the rest of his team only has 17. It's cool because we say that no one able to play fair very well on at a really high level on the Fusion. I think that EQO switches over to the fair for map 3 and really kind of throws NYXL for a loop, and they get the win from it, because he's able to just get an early barrage, get some kills, and they win the map. But that brings us into kind of the turning point in the whole series. Yeah.
This is one of the cases where when NYXL downloads, it's called download complete. For anybody watches fighting games, they can see that they're tired. They now have the comps locked down. They know what they can do, and everything turns around here.
This is a map that I would have loved to see EQO subbed out for Snilio.
Yeah, he's tired.
And they want to play the Tracer, and they also want to play the Widow, and they sub EQ on, or they keep EQ on. He's trying to duel Libero with this Widow, and just, dude, he never gets a pick, man. Dies over and over to this Widow from Libero. And end up switching up to Genji, but there's like a minute 20 left. It's hard. I mean, you can get it all, but it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
And they run this strat where it's weird because on Volskaya, if they have a Widow, you can push up to the right, go up the stairs, and kind of push and hold top. Now, the Widow will go to the other side, but you can kind of hold that bottom spot. They keep running their heads into the wall, going left, and giving Libero all the time in the world, all the space in the world to just get these picks, man, and it really hurts them.
Yeah. It's almost anticlimactic, but it's like, how long can you run, this marathon? And watching it break down sucks.
It does.
At this point, I think everybody's cheering for Philadelphia to pretty much upset this whole thing.
Yeah.
And set the league on fire. But yeah, Excelsior, they're fresh, like you said. They're fresh, first game they have to play, and they take advantage of that. So yeah, Volskaya goes in their favor, right? and then
pretty quickly too, man.
Pretty quickly. SBB doing this thing. He always performs, like, even when he has a bad, like, 1 or 2 maps, he pulls it back out, and his stats are consistent throughout. But yeah, so then we get to Hollywood, where the problems continue, the frustration continues.
Yeah, and like I brought up before, Fraggy looking just mentally exhausted, especially by this point. He's like beet red, man. He looks rough.
And they're doing, they made the right calls from a coaching standpoint, from a team decision. They went triple tank. That's what I was thinking. I was like, you guys got 2 in the bank. Hollywood is great on attack for going that triple tank to essentially, we've seen Los Angeles Gladiators do this, where they triple tank through the second point to make it very difficult for the opposing team to get those sniper sightlines, the Widow sightlines, and they do, but SBP just picks it apart.
Yeah, and I mean, they take the point. Fusion take the point 1 relatively quickly. They had a big shatter from Fraggy and got a Deadeye really quick.
Yeah.
Taking out some quick picks, but going into point 2, man, they switch Carpe back over to the Widow, and that forces EQO to either play Genji or Tracer, and I think it switches up between the 2 a couple of times. And man, when you're having to make slot these people in on characters, especially the Tracer, to get these picks, I would have rather seen Sneelio, because you need a Tracer on this map. It's set up the same way as Route 66 is once you get into the streets, and we know how good Tracer is on the streets of Route 66.
And this is also a case where I would have liked, if this was Los Angeles Gladiators, we would have saw like a Merce, a May, or Doomfist, something crazy, because you have that too. You have those 2 wins. You just need to do something, throw them off, and see if you can eke something out, because you're running on fumes. And that may be a coaching call, and maybe a team call, where I would have been like, hey, do we have any back pocket cheese? Let's just cheese this thing and see where we can get. Because we're running on fumes.
Yeah. Well, they're so used to playing this high-intensity dive, man, and they've kind of gotten used to that. But that takes a lot out of you, man. You're having to focus on specific targets, and Libero just gets in the back, man, just starts picking people off while SBB is taking the supports to town.
Yeah.
Kind of rough to watch.
Yeah, man. So we wrap up that one. Excelsior now tying it up.
Yeah.
Oh, man, and then we get into Gibraltar.
Which Philly starts out strong on offense. They go into it. They get point 1 real quick, get some huge picks, like really early on Jonak. They get Meko out of his suit really quick, right at the top of that hill. And then they go into Hangar, where they push the cart all the way to the very end. And then they just get held up. Libero gets a blade really early on, takes out some supports, and then they just kind of straggle in over and over, and it's just never able to put anything together until the very end. In overtime, they switch over to Amora. She gets on the car. She gets a coalescence, and she's able to get the kill she needs. But man, at one point, EQO does get a big blade. Kind of looks like they're turning stuff around, but just never get out of Hangar. They kind of stuck at that door.
Yeah.
Rough. Yeah.
It's a rough end.
Yeah. New York still looked fresh, man.
Man. SVP got hype. Everybody got hype.
Yeah.
You could see that. I don't think Philadelphia was super disappointed. I think they were more just exhausted.
Yeah, they looked tired, man. And that confetti would piss me off.
Fuck that confetti. Excuse my French.
Let the other team go to the locker before you drop it on them too.
Oh man, it was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
Then they're taking pictures, and
that poor guy has to clean some. That poor janitor's out there sweeping.
Especially what if there's like a bloopers reel, not a bloopers reel, but a cut afterwards shows the janitor sweeping up the confetti, and he has a Philadelphia Fusion jersey on,
or it's Fraggy, just mad as hell, man. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny, actually.
If any of Philadelphia is listening, man, props. That was a hell of a ride.
It was a really good, definitely a really good 2 sets of games there. Yeah,
and we said this, last playoffs that this is good, man. These are good. I can't wait for the season ender. We get what, 2 more playoffs?
Yep. We got stage 4, or no, we got 3, 4. You're right, 2, stage 3 and 4.
Yeah, so we got 2 more playoffs before the big shebang, before the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm excited for the stage 3 too. It looks like a lot of teams are going to be coming in hot on this.
Oh man, that's what I was going to ask you. I was like, where do you think we're at in the league as far as just you think we leveled up?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely don't see Philly taking a step back, man. They look like they're on fire, and Boston's probably not that far behind them, man. They, especially the last couple of games, man, they started turning it up, and Los Angeles Gladiators are up there with them. The teams that I don't know, man. Los Angeles Valiant and the Dallas Fuel really gotta put some stuff together. Valiant, obviously, a great team. They just got some internal problems, just like Dallas Fuel and Shock there as well, man. There's got to be a lot of potential there. So excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and Dynasty kind of having some problems. So we're going to see the standings start to shift here.
Yeah.
Well, besides the very bottom, but no, even Mayhem's going to start climbing as well. So there's a lot that can happen. I think Excelsior is about to get a lot more regular season losses. I could see that start happening.
Yeah.
Because they kind of ramped up, or they kind of took a flying start at the beginning. So that first stage kind of gave them a start where they're at. Yep. Spitfire starting to come back down to earth. Dynasty already has taken a step in that direction. Like you said, Fusion's moving up. Outlaws are kind of struggling, but we're figuring it out. Uprising, like you said, it looks good. Like the league's going to need more teams because all these teams are going to be good, except the Dragons. Unless stage 3 is where season's not over, man. They can go 20-0. They can flip it. Flip the script and screw up everybody. If Shanghai goes undefeated the next 2 stages, wins, I'm just gonna make some wild claims. Like they win the next playoffs, they can screw up this whole standings chart.
I think a wild claim with them be winning 1, honestly. I don't know. They got some new players coming on board, so hopefully.
Nice. Yeah, Guri, man. She's all over social media. It's great. I hope.
Trying to hype them up.
Zarya is, gaining some footing as far as being picked on a lot of these maps. Yeah. We could see some real stuff happen.
I am kind of upset we will not see Brigitte until stage 4. So I don't know that they're going to be a big meta shift like we saw between stage 1 and 2. We're not losing a Mercy. We still saw some Mercy in stage 2, and actually quite a bit. But we're not seeing a huge meta change. I think we're going to still see a lot of dive.
Yeah. Man, we went over an hour on this one.
Yeah.
It was hype. I'm tired just talking about it. I feel like Philadelphia Fusion is just like, I think I watched everything twice.
Yeah,
watched it live, watched it again, took notes.
It was so sad the second time.
Yeah.
No one into it. I have to cry twice.
It's like watching The Notebook twice. Why did I do that?
The grown man crying.
Alone.
Yeah. Fiance's in the other room like, what are you crying?
What are you crying about?
Yeah.
But let's wrap this one up.
So we don't have matches this week, but we'll get back to you in stage 3.
Yeah, definitely. Reach out to us. We'll be, we're active on the Overwatch competitive Reddit. So we're on there chatting and kind of throwing our opinions out there as well. Not so much on the casual Reddit, but we're around. But if you guys want to reach us, email us at thebirdwatcherspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at thebirdwatchers. Watchers is spelled WATCH3RS. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube at The Bird Watchers, and then you can find us on Reddit or Instagram at The Bird Watchers Podcast. Reach out to us. Tell us what you thought about the playoffs, how you feel about playoffs, 1 versus 2, the stages, predictions. Are the Dragons finally going to do something crazy? Trades that might happen. We still have trades that can come up, right, for stage 3.
Yeah. I think we're still in the trade window for a little bit longer.
Yeah, but, once again, special thanks to Lizard King for our themes, music, killing it. Thanks to you guys, too, for, listening, letting us ramble in your ears for a little bit of your day. Anything you got to say, Clay?
No. Hey, thanks, guys, for listening.
All right, time for me to go ladder.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
I have destroyed more of your kind than I can count.